Los Angeles, California, 11:45 p.m. The night was cold, and the streets of Los Angeles glowed with neon signs contrasting against the darkness of the alleys. Amid the sound of cars and distant sirens, a man named Raymond Carter, known simply as Ray, tried to keep warm next to a burning barrel under a bridge near the main avenue. Ray hadn't always been homeless. Years ago, he had a house, a steady job, and even a family. But after a series of tragic events, losing his job, a divorce, and an insurmountable debt, he ended up on the streets, living day by day, hoping for a fresh start. Near midnight, as Ray tried to fall asleep on a piece of cardboard, a loud noise startled him awake. He looked toward the avenue and saw a sleek black car pulled over on the side of the road. The engine had apparently died. Curious and driven by an odd intuition, Ray got up, rubbed his hands to fight off the cold, and walked toward the car. As he approached, he saw the silhouette of a massive man trying to figure out what had gone wrong. The door opened, and the car's interior light revealed a familiar face. It was Shaquille O'Neal, yes, the legendary former NBA player, four-time champion, one of the greatest basketball icons in the world. Ray froze. "Need some help, sir?" he asked hesitantly. Shaq looked at him, surprised, and let out a heavy sigh. "Man, I think this thing just died. The engine's not making a sound." Ray knew a thing or two about cars. Before losing everything, he worked as a mechanic at a downtown Los Angeles shop. He looked at the car, noticed something unusual, and said, "If you let me take a look, I might be able to fix it." Shaq raised an eyebrow, skeptical. He looked at the man in worn-out clothes, disheveled hair, and dirty boots. The natural reaction would be to turn him away, but something about Ray's confidence made him step back. "Go ahead, partner. If you can fix this, I'll buy you dinner." Ray knelt beside the car and popped the hood. Within seconds, he spotted the issue, a loose battery cable. "Here's your problem. I just need a wrench." Shaq chuckled. "I don't carry a wrench, man. But I can get you some pliers." Ray took the pliers, made some quick adjustments, and tightened the battery cable. He tapped the hood twice and signaled Shaq to try turning the car on again. The engine roared back to life. Shaq's eyes widened, and he let out a deep laugh. "Damn. You just saved me, man. How can I thank you?" Ray shrugged, shy. Dinner sounds great. But Shaquille O'Neal wasn't the kind of guy who did the bare minimum. He pulled out his phone, typed a few messages, and within minutes, a black SUV pulled up next to them. "Come with me. You need more than just dinner." Ray hesitated. It had been a long time since anyone had offered him something without expecting anything in return. But the truth was, he had nothing to lose. He got in the car. Little did he know, his life was about to change forever. The black SUV glided smoothly through the streets of Los Angeles before stopping in front of an upscale restaurant in Beverly Hills. Ray hesitated as he stepped out. He was wearing dirty, worn-out clothes, clearly out of place in such a fancy environment. But Shaq just smiled and patted him on the shoulder. "Relax, partner. Tonight, you're my guest." As they entered the restaurant, Ray felt completely out of place. He could hardly remember the last time he had sat down at a real restaurant, let alone one like this. As they walked to their reserved table, customers and staff stared at Shaq with admiration, some asking for pictures, others simply nodding respectfully. Shaq placed his order, a massive plate of ribs, burgers, and fries. Ray hesitated before ordering a simple cheeseburger. Shaq laughed. "Order whatever you want, men. It's all on me tonight." After a while, Shaq looked at Ray and asked, "So, what's your story? How did you end up on the streets?" Ray took a deep breath. He didn't like talking about his past, but something about Shaq's gaze made him feel like he could trust him. "I used to be a mechanic. Worked in a shop here in the city. Had a house, a wife, everything. But things fell apart fast. I lost my job when the shop closed, my wife left, and within a few months, I had nothing. No money, no family, no hope." Shaq nodded, thoughtful. "You know, men. A lot of people in your situation would have given up. But you're still here. Still helping others. That says a lot about you." Ray gave a faint smile. "I don't know much, but I know how to fix cars." That's when Shaq had an idea. He pulled out his phone and made a call. Ray couldn't hear the whole conversation but caught a few words. "Yeah, he's a good mechanic. I trust him. He just needs a chance." After hanging up, SHAQ looked at Ray. "Tomorrow morning, I'm taking you somewhere. If you're as good as you seem, your life might change." Ray's eyes widened. "What are you talking about?" SHAQ gave a mysterious smile. "You'll have to wait and see." The next morning, Ray woke up in a hotel room for the first time in years. SHAQ had paid for a simple suite so he could get a proper night's sleep, and Ray could hardly believe the comfort of the bed. At exactly 9 a.m., a car arrived to pick him up. The driver took him to a massive auto shop, where SHAQ was already waiting at the entrance. "Welcome to my custom auto center, partner." Ray blinked a few times, struggling to believe what he was seeing. The place was enormous, filled with luxury cars being modified and restored. Entire teams worked on engines, paint jobs, and interiors. "What are we doing here?" Ray asked. SHAQ crossed his arms and smiled. "I meant what I said about helping you. You wanted a chance? Here it is." He pointed at a middle-aged man in a mechanic's jumpsuit. "This is Mike, the shop manager. Show him what you can do." Mike looked Ray up and down, clearly skeptical. "Have you worked with this before?" "More than you think," Ray replied confidently. Mike tossed him a screwdriver. "All right, then show me what you've got." Ray took a deep breath, grabbed the tool, and stepped up to the first car. He knew this moment could define the rest of his life. He knelt down, popped the hood, and started working. From that moment on, everything was about to change forever. The engine roared as Ray made the final adjustments. He wiped the grease from his hands and looked at Mike, the shop manager, waiting for a reaction. Mike walked up to the car, turned the ignition, and listened to the deep, steady hum of the engine. He frowned slightly, then stepped out and lifted the hood again, inspecting Ray's work. SHAQ, who had been watching with his arms crossed, broke the silence. "So, Mike? Is the guy any good or not?" Mike slammed the hood shut with a loud thunk and turned to Ray. "Who taught you how to work on engines like this?" Ray smiled. "My dad was a mechanic. I grew up in a garage." Mike shook his head, impressed. "Nice work. But being a good mechanic isn't just about fixing an engine." He pointed to a luxury Bentley across the shop. "That one needs a full suspension replacement. Think you can handle it?" Ray felt a chill run down his spine. He knew how to do the job, but it had been years since he worked on such an expensive car. He glanced at SHAQ, who simply grinned. "Trust yourself, men." Ray took a deep breath, grabbed the tools, and got to work. The task was meticulous. He had to disassemble part of the suspension, adjust the shock absorbers, and recalibrate the system to ensure the car would drive as smoothly as possible. Every step was a test. He knew that a single mistake could cost him the opportunity of a lifetime. 2 hours later, he was done. Mike and SHAQ walked over as Ray wiped the grease off his hands. "It's ready," Ray said, trying to hide his nerves. Mike got into the car, turned it on, and drove a short distance inside the shop. The silence was deafening. Then, Mike stepped out and looked at SHAQ. "This guy is good. Really good." SHAQ grinned and clapped Ray on the back. "I knew it." Ray felt an immense weight lift off his shoulders. Mike crossed his arms. "Do you want a job, Carter?" Ray blinked a few times, stunned. You're serious?" Mike chuckled. "If I weren't, do you think I'd be wasting my time? You're good, and I need guys like you here." "So, yeah, I'm serious." Ray looked at SHAQ, who just nodded. "Man, take this opportunity. You deserve it." Ray felt his eyes well up. He could hardly believe that in less than 24 hours, he had gone from sleeping on the streets to working in a high-end auto shop with a real salary. "I'll take it." SHAQ smiled. "Now, let's take care of something else. You can't keep living on the streets." Ray's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" SHAQ pulled out his phone, made another call, and within minutes, a car pulled up in front of the shop. "Come with me. We've got one more thing to handle." Ray hesitated but followed SHAQ into the car. He didn't know it yet, but his life was about to change once again. Ray was still trying to process everything that had happened. In less than a day, He had gone from being a homeless man with no hope to a mechanic employed at one of Los Angeles' most exclusive auto shops. But SHAQ wasn't done yet. As the car took them to an unknown destination, Ray glanced at the giant sitting beside him. "Where are we going now?" SHAQ smiled. "You'll see." The car stopped in front of a modern building in a quiet neighborhood. Ray looked around, confused. "What is this place?" SHAQ stepped out and waved for Ray to follow. They entered the building and took the elevator to the third floor. When the doors opened, SHAQ pulled a set of keys from his pocket and handed them to Ray. "Welcome to your new home." Ray froze. "What?" SHAQ unlocked the door and pushed it open. The apartment was simple but comfortable, a fully furnished studio with a small kitchen and a private bathroom. To most people, it would seem ordinary. To Ray, it was a fresh start. I can't accept this," he stammered, gripping the keys with trembling hands. SHAQ placed his massive hand on Ray's shoulder. "Of course, you can. I'm not giving you anything, Ray. I'm giving you a starting point. You earned a job on your own. Now, you need a place to rest and rebuild your life. Consider this an investment in your future." Ray felt a lump in his throat. "I don't even know how to thank you." SHAQ chuckled. "Thank me by doing something for someone else one day. When you're back on your feet, help another person. That's all the payment I want." Tears welled up in Ray's eyes. For the first time in years, he felt like he had a real chance. 6 months later. The sun was shining brightly over Los Angeles. Ray adjusted his safety glasses as he finished working on a 1969 Mustang inside the shop. Now, he was one of the trusted mechanics at the auto center. He had a steady paycheck, a place to live, and, most importantly, his dignity. But the best was yet to come. As Ray wiped the grease off his hands, a young man hesitantly approached. His worn-out clothes and tired expression were all too familiar. "Hey, man. I heard you used to live on the streets and turned your life around. I really need a job, a chance." Ray looked at the kid, recognizing the same desperation he had felt months ago. He smiled. "Let's see what you can do." And just like that, the cycle continued. Ray's life changed completely because of a single act of kindness. He helped Shaquille O'Neal without expecting anything in return, and in return, he was given a new life. And now, he was doing the same for others. Because sometimes, all someone needs is a chance.